Hey, good evening, everybody. Didn't forget about you. We're just finishing up with the Finance Committee meeting. So there'll be a few people that are going to join us here, so we'll just give them a couple minutes.
Here.
Mayor Swadley.
Yes.
Hey, this is Dennis Steinkraus. I'm not sure why I'm showing up, but it's showing up as WS Whitney Schmidt, one of our coworkers. So I'm on, mainly listening till we get to the annexation portion.
Okay. Holly, you can make note of that. That was Dennis Steinkraus.
I don't think I can change his name for him. But
You need this stuff? No.
It's okay.
Thank you. I thought I was mute.
Okay. You want to punch us in? Yeah. Oh. That's going where we're going to be.
Yeah, if everyone could just mute their line, that would be awesome. We have a lot of people on the call tonight, several people that are going to want to speak, and we want to make sure we can hear everybody. Those that have called in, if you could just mute your lines. Normally it's like *6 on your phone. And I'm just waiting for 1 or 2 people to sign in from finance. It looks like we're almost there. All right, Holly, let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right, once again, if everybody could just mute their line. And then we'll call this meeting to order. It's Tuesday, January 12th of 2021. This is the Stoughton City Council meeting. And the first order of business would be the roll call. Holly?
Boersma,
Here.
Caravello,
Here.
Doom,
Here.
Hiley,
Here.
Hirsch,
Here.
Hunt,
Here.
Jensen,
Here.
Magaki,
Here.
Majewski,
Here.
Reeves,
Here.
Schumacher,
Here.
and Tukowski.
Here.
All right, we have 12 alders present.
All right, thank you, Holly. Before we get started, this is a picture of me early last year at the nation's capital in Washington, D.C. And there's been a lot of things that have happened between now and then, and especially in 2020, and it carried over into 2021. So I just wanted to take a moment to reflect on things that are going on in the world today before we start the meeting tonight. So if you could just give us a moment and then we'll get started. Okay, thank you for that. We'll get into our meeting tonight. The first thing on the agenda tonight would be communications. Do we have any communications from alders?
Yes, I'd like to say something, Mayor. I just wanted to let everybody know that we have organized a committee of the whole meeting for Thursday, February 4th at 6:30 p.m. And this will, oh, there's some back feed. Somebody, can everybody mute? It'd be great. We're having this committee of the whole meeting to go over all the science and expert studies that were done for the Ahara River Park. And so everybody can be up to speed and answer any questions that you guys might have. Again, this is a council committee of the whole meeting. Public is free to attend, but there will not be any public comment period because we have a number of guests that will be speaking at that time and we want to get through our agenda. So it's really for the council to get up to speed and also for the community to listen in. So thanks.
Thank
What
you.
time was that again, Regina?
It's Thursday, February 4th at 6:30 p.m.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other communications from council members? Okay, I'll have a couple more that I'll share with you. First of all, you might have saw in your packet, it's Wisconsin Salt Awareness Week. So we just want to bring that to your attention, as it's that time of the year where we tend to get some snow here in Wisconsin, and we just want to make sure people are conscious about how much salt that they're using. And certainly if you have any questions, you know, we have staff that are more than happy to be able to help answer them. And I know our public works guys are real sensitive about that when they're salting the roads. They talk about that often. The trucks are calibrated to only dump so much salt when they're plowing the roads. So please keep that in mind if you're in a position where you have to use salt. A couple other things I wanted to mention. Next Monday is Martin Luther King Day, so I certainly want to acknowledge that for those that are here and those that are watching the meeting. So a number of businesses and buildings will be closed that day as we honor the late Martin Luther King. Also, you might be hearing or have heard that VITA, which is a volunteer tax organization through the county, is going to be doing personal tax returns, income tax returns in Stoughton again this year. And they're going to be set up on the fire station, so you can stay tuned and you'll get some more details on that. They're in the preparation stage. They've been working with Chief Rip over at the fire department to be able to have the space to basically drop off taxes, and they'll process them, and then people will be able to pick them up. So all the contact information will be posted. We'll get some stuff on our website, so you can, and our Facebook, so you can look for that coming up in the next several weeks. One last call for council members. Any other communications? All right, hearing none. That leads us into our public comment. We have several people that are signed up to speak. So once again, if you're not speaking, please keep your line muted. And I'll call off the first one. Hopefully everybody that signed up is here. The first one was Jeff Veek. Jeff, are you on the call? Okay, I'm not hearing Jeff. One more time. Jeff Veek, are you available to speak? All right, we'll move on to the next one, and that was Karen Keller. Is Karen here to speak?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so the rules for public comment is basically you have 3 minutes to speak. And our clerk will be timing you, so she'll send out a signal if you're running out of time. And the floor is yours.
Okay, I'm here on behalf of Shaker Saloon. Understanding that people want it shut down, and I'm opposed to that because it's the only bar that I feel comfortable going to, and I really feel we're like a family there. And I'm not a drinker, so because I drive, and when I drive, I don't drink. So and they're all okay with that. So like this, so if they ever open, I have a son that will drop me off if I want to drink or something, and he'll pick me up when I'm ready to go. And I know that they've called Uber for people, like cabs or whatever. So, I mean, it's a very friendly place, and I just love that place.
Okay, thank you for sharing your thoughts tonight. The next person signed up to speak is Bradley Dillman. Are you available, Brad? I see your name. It looks like you're muted, Brad. Do you want to unmute and speak? All right, I'm not hearing Brad. We'll move on to the next one and we'll try to come back. I also have Steve Meyer signed up to speak. Are you available to speak, Steve? Okay, we'll keep going on the list. The next one is Vicky Elsing. Vicky, are you available?
I'm here.
Okay,
Hello?
Who's this speaking?
This is Vicky.
Oh,
Vicky
okay.
Elsing.
Go ahead, you have 3 minutes.
Okay, my husband and I go out to Shakers all the time. And like the other one said, we're like a family out there. Steve and Brad do a wonderful job. They keep an eye on things. They take our temperatures when we go in. They just keep making sure that everything's smooth inside. They're very caring people. Unfortunately, one night somebody pulled off something bad, and I don't know how you can keep them people away from there, but Brad and Steve do a wonderful job, and Phil and I have never had a fear going out there. We always feel very welcome, very comfortable, and very safe. And these are two just wonderful guys that are trying to clean up and run this place.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll circle back. Is Jeff Veek available? Okay, not hearing Jeff. How about Brad Dillman? Brad, are you available? It looks like you're unmuted, Brad. Are you trying to speak? I can't hear you. Try to unmute your phone like *6.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yep, I can.
Okay, all right. I was hitting the other mute button on my, okay. Just, Steve is going to speak on our behalf after the public, for the oral arguments. And I just wanted to, talk to some of the things that go on there, we do everything we can to make sure that people are safe. We've gone above and beyond. I think we're the only bar in Dane County that takes people's temperatures. I don't, we've never had a super spreader event, as I've been told or I've heard. We have a bouncer at the door that wands everybody and make sure that there's no contraband that can get in there. We check purses. We do everything we can, and we keep track of the amount of people that we allow in there. We have a clicker that keeps track. On the night of the incident, there was probably some people outside that needed to get in, but we wouldn't allow them in. I mean, it's just that we were at capacity, and whatever anyone is saying as far as 110 to 150 people, that's an absolute lie. I know because I was in there and I was keeping track of the count. I would go over there and make sure if it looked like it was starting to get packed, I made sure that we weren't at our over capacity. And again, we do whatever we can with what we're given. I mean, we kind of inherited a problem, not only with what you guys have talked about with Dale, which we rectified that situation, but in the past history. I heard an officer say he's been there multiple times on multiple calls, not on our watch. There's only been one incident, and that was me allowing our workers an after shift drink. I forgot to turn off the open sign. We paid that due. I felt, I could have probably argued it, but I didn't want to because I figured, that was a mistake on my part, and I wanted to own up to it. And that's how Steve and I are. We run an honorable business, and we just inherited a bad situation with that stupid hotel next door. You guys put up a camera because of that stupid hotel. And I'm sorry for using that kind of language, but I'm really upset about it, why we had to inherit their problem. And we are being held to blame for it. When, I never saw any, and again, this is me publicly speaking, but why wasn't that video ever entered into evidence? Probably because it would probably give the true story of what really happened. Into discussion. That's all I got to say. Hello?
All right, who's this, Steve?
Yeah.
Yep.
So
you
mine
got
is probably going to
3
be.
minutes.
Now, here's the thing. I put Steve in there because I didn't know if we needed to have him, but he's going to speak to the oral arguments. I just put him in there on the public just to make sure we were covered. So
Okay.
we can
Well,
wait for his until we actually, speak of the oral arguments, if that's all right.
Yep, that'll work.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. And then I have a couple that were sent in that they want me to read. So I'll put those up on the screen as I read them. The first one is from Raphael Ragland. It says, "Hi, Raphael Ragland. There's a screenwriter, director out of the Madison, Wisconsin. Before the start of this pandemic, me and the owner of Shaker's Saloon, Steve Meyer, came to a written agreement that my new movie, Dark of the Day, would be shot at the Shaker's Saloon location in Stoughton, Wisconsin. This pandemic has made it difficult for businesses all over, especially those who are trying to stay afloat. Throughout this pandemic, we've been in the bar several times finding ways to save this project to get done. I'm not here to point a finger on who's right and who's wrong, but the pandemic is to blame because it has shifted the scale to the point where it takes time to put something in order so your business can stay afloat. I honestly don't think Steve Myers means any harm. I see a man who's trying to fulfill and uphold a dream through a pandemic that has already destroyed many businesses. I am just a voice that is hoping to be heard, a voice that is searching for some understanding and reasoning and grace. And I am a voice that says, and I believe the pandemic have already done Steve Myers business damage, and I am as a voice bag of you and plead you not to finish this business off. Thank you and God bless. And the next one is from William Osborne. And this one says, to whom it may concern, I'd like to start out by saying that Mr. Bradley and Steve, the gentlemen that run the bar, are amazing people. They've helped me when I was down in life and even offered me a job. I beg the Stoughton leadership and community to please allow these men to continue to create jobs and revenue. It's unfortunate that two men that they don't even know can come and do a bad thing and ruin the dreams of others. I'm pretty sure they did not want any problems on their property. I know Bradley just wants to run a peaceful establishment, which brings everyone in America have a right to. All right, so that's the public comments I have on shakers that are signed up. I guess I have one last call for Jeff Veek. Is he on the line? And then I have one more for AC. AC, you can mute your line and you'd have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm AC. My name's Aaron McCarroll. Steve is a great friend of mine and a great business partner, mentor as well. Over 22 years, Steve pulled me out of a lot of my bad terms in life and taught me business, taught me how to run a painting company and how to give back to my community. You know, we do the student turnover every year. I've been with him for the past 22 years. When Steve said he wanted to open up this bar, I said it's a great idea for the Stoughton community because being that in my past, I had no hip hop avenues to go to in the Stoughton community at bars. It was predominantly just other musics in general. It wasn't all genres. Shakers offered all genres of music. This unfortunate incident that took place outside of Shaker Saloon at Chalet Drive is unfortunate. And as I've heard in the past hearings, we were accused of holding a super spreader event. So the victim in question that was shot was tested positive for COVID-19. No one in the police department decided to let Shaker Saloon or any of staff know that we need to quarantine. So we all ultimately ended up getting tested and tracking down family and friends that were there or had been in contact with anyone. So what I'm asking on behalf of the public is to please allow this establishment to remain open and operative. I don't want to use the word discrimination, but unfortunately, it has been a fact in a lot of the outcomes. So I ask that you guys open your eyes to the world and the way it's going, the pandemic, and a lot of businesses that are affected as well. And all of our hard works and dedications for our family, our friends, our kids, to allow us to continue to do business here at Shaker Saloon and in the city of Stoughton. We bring with us a great, and I mean a great, strong value of family, friends, and the safety of our community, especially me, myself. You guys have my name. I've been through a lot of things with the world, but I've always been honest and open and helpful. When it comes to the MPD, police department, the gangs, and the task force, I've worked with them to clean up the streets. It's not an easy task to do as a young Black male in society. With that being said, I rest my case. And thanks for having me in, Mayor.
Thank you, AC. And that's all I had signed up for public comment for the Shakers portion. And I did have one other person signed up to speak. Sharon Mason Boersma, are you available?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
I can. I have an email. You want me to put it up on the screen?
Sure, that'd be great, and I'll read it. Thank you. My name is Sharon Mason Boersma. I'm a Stoughton resident. And at the last City Council meeting on December 22nd, 2020, I prepared information about the sediment assessment report that was read by Mayor Swadley. I shared concerns about information from the report about the amount and kinds of sediment that was found and named after being taken from a small part of the Yahara River in September of 2019 and revised in December of 2019. This, of course, is in preparation for the possibility for the Stoughton Dam to be removed and allowing a whitewater park to be built. One of the areas of large concern is contamination. Emily Stanley, a river ecologist at the University of Wisconsin, studies rivers after dams are removed and published her findings in the journal called Bioscience. She stated that, quote, dams help trap fertilizers over-applied on nearby fields and can be effective filters for removing nitrogen that has come in off of farm fields through groundwater into the system and be actually some valuable points of improving water quality. In her article, Stanley said in many cases, sediments have been collecting behind the dams for decades. When the dam is removed, the sediments are suddenly released downstream and can lead to harmful algae blooms. In some cases, the sediments can contain more dangerous substances, such as heavy metals, PCBs. Stanley says, quote, communities should be sure to weigh the environmental consequences before removing a dam. I would like to bring to all of your attention tonight about an incident that occurred on June 8th of 2016, where a 19-year-old female by the name of Lauren Seitz from Westerville, Ohio, died on June 19th, 2016, after she ingested fresh water while rafting at the U.S. National Whitewater Center in Charlotte, North Carolina. Ms. Seitz, on a mission trip with 40 others from her church, was traveling and decided to visit the National Whitewater Center, an outdoor recreational park owned and operated by the U.S. National Whitewater Center Incorporated, a nonprofit organization that offers whitewater rafting, canoeing, kayaking, and other outdoor recreational activities, and built by the Recreation Engineering and Planning Incorporated in Boulder, Colorado. Water rafting, she was thrown overboard, causing Lauren's nose and head to go completely underwater. The plaintiff's document reads that, beknownst to Lauren, this seemingly inconsequential event caused her to come up into contact with a carnivorous amoeba, a microscopic but deadly amoeba that was present throughout the entire whitewater feature of the U.S. National Whitewater Center. Lauren became sick and died on June 19, 2016. Further in the plaintiff's document, it reads that this microscopic, the size of approximately 1/3 the width of a human hair, ubiquitous to fresh waters all around the world, including the U.S. It adds that it is well recognized by park designers, owners, operators, but not the public generally, as a danger to public health and safety that the public can discover on its own. It presents a special danger to children, young adults, that participate in recreational activities in waters containing the amoeba due to their immature immune systems. With Lauren's father suing the U.S. National Whitewater Center, I could not find a final outcome for this litigation that did reach the governor's office. I would ask the city to be smart, to look at vision for the impact in all areas of this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. And I would add that Emily Stanley is scheduled to be at the committee of the whole that Regina mentioned earlier.
Oh, that is great. Good.
Actually, Tim, she's going to be at our Whitewater Steering Committee meeting, not the Committee of the Whole meeting.
Oh, thanks for that clarification. I knew she was going to be at one of the meetings. So
Yeah,
that,
so it's our Whitewater Steering Committee on January 25th at 8 in the morning. So again, everybody's invited to attend. It's our normal, well, it's our rescheduled time because of the holiday next Monday. So we postponed it a week. So again, it's our committee meeting, and you know, we usually have some great experts at the meeting to, you know, answer questions of our committee and the public.
Good. I'm glad she's going to be there. Thank you.
you bet. Thank you. All right. First order of business then tonight would be the consent agenda. And I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
And is there a second?
I second.
All right. And would anybody like anything removed and acted on separately? Hearing none, all in favor of the consent agenda, say aye.
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 And any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. There's no old business. New business would be the hearings for discussion and possible decision on complaint seeking revocation of Class B reserve combination license held by Shakers. Before we get started, I want to lay a few ground rules and then turn it over to Attorney Reuter to fill in the blanks. First of all, in your packet, you probably saw the complaint, the transcript, public safety hearing, the evidence exhibits, the extension request, and then the written agreement. So all that information is in your packet. If you need to refer to it at any time, I can put it on the screen. We want to, we limit arguments to one person. It sounds like for Shakers, Mr. Myers has been the one that's designated to make the oral arguments. We ask that until people are done speaking, if you could just keep your lines muted so we can make sure we hear everybody. And that's all I had. Attorney Reuter, did you have anything you want to add?
There was a request submitted to the council for additional time to submit written arguments. I don't know if Shakers is still interested in doing that or not, but if so, the council would have to make a determination on that request. Mr. Meyer? You're muted. You're still muted.
It looks like you're unmuted, but we can't hear you, Steve.
Hello? Can you hear now? Hello?
Yes. Yep, go ahead.
Okay. So with the written, we received email from Holly 8 o'clock in the morning, the day before the written was due. 117 pages. We asked for an extension to submit that, and to our knowledge, we were denied. Nobody got back to us. Nobody told us anything. So I would appreciate the opportunity to do that if in fact the city approves our written argument. Once again, we were given the, I don't know what time, when the council or when the safe.
I
when
could
the,
respond
safe
to that if.
Permission was given.
Okay,
Sorry.
we're gonna have Holly respond since she was the one that sent it out.
Yeah, thank you.
So I did respond to the email and said that I was forwarding it to the council. The council has not met since the request came in. It is true that Shakers did get the, everyone got the transcript last Tuesday, I believe. However, the written objections are in reference to the report that the Public Safety Committee submitted to the council, and Shakers has had that since December 17th. The transcript is just a written version of the meeting that has nothing to do with the written objection portion of this meeting.
So Attorney Reuter, can you kind of walk us through what the actual request would be?
Well, the request effectively is to postpone the action tonight to allow them to submit written arguments to the council in addition to whatever oral arguments they intend to make. Under your ordinances, the council has the option of allowing either written arguments, oral arguments, or both, and the council decided to allow both. It set deadlines for each of the parties to submit the written arguments. Shakers did not do that, but instead asked for an extension. The complainant's attorney did file a written argument within the time that was allowed. So the question for the council is whether you want to grant additional time to allow written arguments in addition to the oral arguments, which would then mean that the determination on the complaint would have to wait until after those arguments would be received. And presumably that act at the next council meeting.
Alrighty. Did anybody want to make a motion to that effect or not?
You can say that.
I mean, we'd have to have a motion, a second, and an approval vote in order to grant the extension. So is anybody willing to make that motion?
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Alderperson Hunt?
Seeing as the written and oral were allowed at one time, and they do wish to submit some written arguments, I think it would be best for the council to see their written arguments before we make a decision. So I would move that they are allowed to submit their written arguments.
And is there a second?
I don't care. This is like
I'll support Alder Hunt on that.
All right, so there's a motion and a second. Did you want to elaborate on that, Fred, or was that the point you wanted to make?
Well, I guess I would say that if we are, at one time, we extended to them the opportunity to submit it. I do also understand that they've asked for extensions several times and delays several times. But if they have something of value to offer and they want to do it in writing, I think it would be worthwhile for the process that we hear it and add that to our decision.
So, this is Steve Meyer.
Steve,
I have a
this
chance
this
to-
is a council discussion at this point. There's a
Oh,
motion on the
I'm
floor.
sorry.
So-
We lost all of our audios, or we lost all of our visuals, so I have no idea. I
Right.
apologize for the interruption, but I want to,
That's fine. There's a motion on the floor and a second in order to allow the extension. So we have to have a debate and a vote by the council in order to either grant the extension or to deny it. So depending on how that comes out, we'll proceed. So did anybody else have any comments that you wanted to make regarding the extension?
I guess since we've, given it lots of extensions, and I realize it was the holidays and, whatever from Shakers, I would give them, 5 days, They've known about this, they've had it, they need 5 days, I'd be okay with 5 days.
So do we need clarification on the motion then? Or how does that work, Al? Would they have until the next council meeting or?
Well, either the motion that's on the floor would have to be amended to include a deadline for filing the written arguments as well as setting a new date for the determination. Or that could be done by separate motion. Current motion is approved and they're given the opportunity to submit something. So either the timing of it should be addressed either in the current motion by amendment or it could be addressed by a separate motion.
And just for clarification, when did they receive that notice, Holly?
December.
Which notice?
The notice
So-
that they had to have the written or the oral arguments.
That was at our last council meeting that they received the deadlines for submitting written briefs, and they received the report in which they were supposed to, or in which they could object to in their written briefs on December 17th. So they've had this for close to a month.
All right, any other questions or comments from council members? Alderperson Lagaki?
I oppose giving them more time. I think that we've tried to be true to the process and we've definitely made extensions. And I have concerns about if we're going to consider an extension, not that I can put conditions on it, but one thing I'd be looking for. When these events took place back in October, they weren't even supposed to be open. And they didn't seem to even have clarity on what was the authority for that. And a agency that's struggling and providing a great homey atmosphere for folks is great, but the truth is that it was unsafe. And I think the risks of the public safety are greater than those needs. And so if we're going to consider an extension, I will oppose it unless it has the conditions that they're following, both the state order and what the Dane County Public Health Order currently is at as well. And that's extremely limiting for places right now. And again, all of the data that we saw, I don't see how it's possible for that to change in any kind of extended period of time. The public safety, it to me is of greater import.
And does anybody else have any questions or comments?
This is Ozzy, and I'd just like to say that I think they've had more than enough time to prepare for tonight. So I'm going to vote against giving an extension.
And I'll speak up on this too, Tim. I would agree that my feeling is that they've had enough time. If there was confusion on their part as to what they were actually supposed to be arguing against, they could always have called Holly, talked to her. They could have called me. No, actually, I guess that's not right. They probably shouldn't have called me. Conflict of interest. So I don't know. I don't think I can support this tonight. I want to get this.
I missed that. What was the conflict of interest?
Sorry, Mr.
No, that was I made the statement. I said they could call me, and then I corrected myself, saying that I felt that would not be correct because it could be a conflict of interest there. So that would not be the case. But they certainly could have called Holly.
Any questions or comments from any other alders?
Would it be something acceptable if we did put a 5-day limit on it and then offered the next council meeting as the deadline for making a decision? I would alter my motion to include that.
That's up to the balance of the committee. I don't think it would change my mind.
Okay.
I would also like to add that we add that they are in compliance with both state order number that we're on right now, as well as the Dane County order number that we're on right now. I would also like that included.
I don't think so.
So Gina, you're making that amendment because I think the Dane County order that just came out, I think today, that all taverns, it's only open if you're picking up things, right? If I understood that right.
I'm happy to locate it. I have it in my email from work. And I apologize. I'm not sure what state order and what county order on, but I would like that in there from here on as well to help protect the public.
All right, so somebody has to put this in an amendment form. Is that going to be Eugene or you, Fred, that wants to put an amendment out there that would include the date, the public health orders, and then the next council meeting?
I would attempt to do that. They should have their written arguments submitted by 5 days from now, the 17th of January. And they should be ready to and be prepared to have a hearing at the January 26th City Council meeting. And in the meantime, they should be in compliance with any and all state and county health ordinances or statements concerning COVID.
All right, is there a second to that amendment?
I'll support Alder Hunt on that one as well.
All right. Any questions on the amendment?
Is it appropriate that I ask the bar owner a question? Is that allowed?
Yes, yep, yes. Well, you can, I was gonna interject it anyway, because I know what the orders are.
Great.
But,
So my
yeah,
simple
go ahead,
question
ma'am.
to you that I'm about to ask you is, are you willing to comply with the current state and county public health orders on COVID? And do you realize how limiting that is for your business at this time?
Ma'am, thank you for that question. This is Steve Meyer. I know how limiting it has been. We follow all the orders from the state and from the local.
Respectfully, again, I do want to hear you, but
Yeah.
I am simply asking this question.
Answer.
You weren't following in the
I'm
last
sorry.
hearing, and so I'm asking for a point of order respectfully. And
Okay.
are you willing to operate that there is only the picking up of food for your establishment? And that's really the only question that I'm asking at this time, respectfully.
Yes, ma'am. That is all, that is,
Thank you.
we haven't been open since October 10th. We're not even offering.
I
We're not-
appreciate-
haven't been open.
I appreciate that, and thank you for answering
Yes,
the question.
we follow. Ma'am, I'm not dodging any question.
No,
I'm
I'm
simply telling
asking
you that we're
us
not
to
even-
move on. I
Oh, well,
am. Thank you, though.
You've asked me a question. I'd like to answer it without being interrupted. I apologize.
I think you did
but
answer the question.
I don't have a screen. All I have is audio. I can't see anything.
Mr.
But
Meyer, I'm
yes,
not
I
trying to
will
be
abide-
short, and I know you're limited, but I appreciate you answering.
Okay,
the
well, let
question.
me, I didn't.
Thank you.
I'm trying to answer it. So I will abide by all laws that are written for the bars, not with limited service, period. Listen, I'm trying to follow all the rules.
All right, that was the answer, so we're moving on. So any alders have any questions or comments about the amendment?
Just, if I could just make one clarification, Mr. Mayor. Alder Hunt mentioned a hearing at the next council meeting. That hearing would simply be to receive the arguments and then for the council to discuss a resolution of the case. I just want to make that clarification so we understood the procedure coming up.
Okay,
Tim, I think we need a roll call vote.
okay. Any last comments or questions before we go to the roll call?
Can you fully state what we're voting on? Because there was a lot of amendments and everything, so I want it to be absolutely clear what we're actually voting on.
Sure, I'll let Holly read it. There was 3 components of the amendment.
So the motion was to have written briefs filed by Shakers by January 17th and to have the resolution to the complaint at the next council meeting. And in that time frame, Shakers needs to abide by all county and state health orders.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, and then when you're ready, Holly, we'll do a roll call vote.
One more thing, Tim, if I may. I'd like to know what the prosecuting attorney, if he has any opinion on this.
Thank you. So my stance would be, we've obviously we've already given a lot of extensions for this. I understand Mr. Meyer's situation, but he's got quite a few employees, obviously, that have been helping him out. And I feel that they could have submitted their written argument on time. if the council does approve an extension of time, I would maybe ask for a couple of days to submit a written response. And the only reason I ask for that is because the written argument that we submitted, we weren't really responding to anything. And given that we won't have any oral argument after tonight, if I'm understanding it correctly, I would just like to have an opportunity to respond to any new written arguments that Shakers makes. So it's looking like they've got 5 days, or I forgot what day the amendment, the response date would be, but if I could have 2 days to respond, or if it's over a weekend, if I could respond by Monday at the close of business, I think that's just what I would request of the council if they agree to this extension.
Okay. And, Reuter, would you recommend that we do an amendment for that separately, or take action on what's on the table and come back to that?
You don't need to shut up.
I don't think that was directed at me.
No, I apologize. My kids are talking in the background.
If the maker and the seconder of the motion are willing to add that response time into the amendment, that could be voted on as a single amendment.
I don't remember even asking for it.
I can simplify that by just making an amendment to the motion to add that request from the prosecuting attorney for the option to supply a response to their argument. And that it would be due on the 25th, Monday, the 25th.
Wait, Greg, I think you gave a lot more time. We were having Shakers
Excuse me.
due on the 17th, and then you wanted,
Yeah, let's make it with a holiday in there. Let's make it January
because we
20th.
want enough time for people to get it in the packet, so we have enough time to review it, right?
So let's make it Wednesday, January 20th.
Thank you.
So did I understand that you were making another amendment? You weren't gonna include it in the one that's on the table?
Well, there's a motion on the table and I was amending that motion.
To include it. Okay, is there a second to that?
I would second it.
I'll second.
Okay, so there's a new amendment on the table, which basically would say that that Attorney Matthew would have the opportunity to submit a written statement after the written statements are received from Shakers. Is that what I'm understanding?
That is it, correct?
And then what was the time?
It would be Wednesday, the 20th.
Okay.
So then we can.
Did you get that, Holly?
I did.
Okay, did everybody understand it?
So this is all connected. This motion is all connected now, correct?
Not yet.
No.
Okay.
We would have to approve this one, and then it would
Right.
be added with the other three on the next vote. So this motion is only on giving Attorney Matthew the opportunity to do a written response, assuming that the other motion carries after this.
Hey, sir?
The council is doing the debate here. You're not allowed to, you'd be out of order. Any questions from council members? All right, so you want to do this one by a roll call, Greg?
I think this could be voice.
Okay, so all in favor of the amendment, say aye.
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 And any opposed?
No.
No.
Okay, I hear 2 no's, so the aye has that. So that takes us to the amendment with the 3 items plus this item. So now there's 4 items that would be on this motion as amended. Anybody have any questions on that?
So this motion is the one that's gonna give them an extension if we vote yes, right?
Right, with the conditions plus the opportunity with Attorney Matthew to have his written response.
Okay, thank you.
Alderperson Boersma,
Yeah, I would like a roll call vote on this.
okay. Alderperson Hiley, did I hear you?
I'm not sure that we actually voted on the initial amendment, just the amendment of that amendment.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna do next, so it'll be the one we just amended that gives Attorney Matthew the opportunity to have a written response would be combined with the amendment that had the other 3 items on it.
So we are still amending the original motion to grant the request. And then we would vote finally on the amended motion, correct?
Yeah, Holly, can you read the amended motion?
The amended motion was to allow Shakers to submit written briefs by January 17th. And the resolution would, of the council would be at the next council meeting, provided that Shakers follows all state and county health rules. Orders, I should say.
Right, and then if that motion, well, there'll be another vote regardless. Anybody have any questions on this amendment? All right, so that we're gonna do this one by roll call. So whenever you're ready, Holly.
Boersma,
Vehement, no.
Caravello,
No.
Doom,
No.
Hiley,
Aye.
Hirsch,
Aye.
Hunt,
Aye.
Jensen,
Aye.
Lagaki,
No.
Mieski,
Aye.
Reeves,
No.
Schumacher,
Aye.
Tukalski,
No.
that is a tie at a vote of 6-6.
That motion fails. So that takes us back to the original motion.
Yeah, this is Matt. Can I just, I want to make sure we're clear on now the emotion. The main motion is to grant an extension without specifying any date by which the new material would need to be submitted and without imposing any obligation to operate in compliance with Dane County and state rules in the meantime. And to allow this, Mr. Manthe to file a response brief. But again, the problem is now we have no deadline by which the respondent's brief would need to be filed.
That is the motion. Any questions or comments from council members on that? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote on that.
Boersma,
No.
Caravello,
No.
Doom,
No.
Hiley,
No.
Hirsch,
No.
Hunt,
Aye.
Jensen,
No.
Lagaki,
No.
Mieski,
No.
Reeves,
No.
Schumacher,
No.
Tukalski.
No.
That motion fails on a vote of 1-11.
All right, so that means we need to get into a discussion. Attorney Reuter, how do you want this to go?
Well, the council did authorize oral arguments, so I think that the licensee should have the opportunity to present oral arguments to the council, followed by Mr. Manthe, and then the council can make an appropriate motion, which we can discuss at that time.
All right, so the floor would belong to Mr. Meyer.
Okay, thank you for having me. Before I get started here, thank you, everybody in the council. And just to make everything clear, we only asked for one extension because I was in the hospital at the Veterans Hospital where I had a really bad infection. So I appreciate that extension, that one extension, not multiple extensions. I'm glad that we have the right to speak finally, and I apologize for interrupting everybody. Brad's screen on his computer went out, and so I'm looking at a blue screen. But thank God we have cell phones. So I'll dive right into it. I want to thank for letting us respond to the terrible act that happened at Shaker, that happened at the hotel that Shaker's Saloon is attached to in Stoughton, Wisconsin. Shaker's has nothing to do with what happened October 10th. Although it was reported in all the newspapers all over the state of Wisconsin because a police officer told a reporter that this happened at Shaker's Saloon, which it didn't, and we have proof. The evidence is what the detectives and the police officers gave that this incident happened 40 yards away from the front door of our bar, 40 yards away. This puts it on the back side of the hotel. There's videotape that the city is withholding. We've had open records requests for this videotape and never received. The law is you have 24 to 48 hours to receive the videotape, in which we have not received. Secondly, the bar has no affiliation with the hotel whatsoever. The city, because of the problems at the hotel, the city installed a camera that overlooks the parking lot at the hotel. Okay, the hotel has had numerous violations, and we at the bar, we're trying to clean up the neighborhood. We're trying to clean up what was previous. We appreciate the city council's we appreciate the city council giving us a second chance to make a first impression. To an extent that we've been walking on eggshells to appease the Stoughton Council, the Safety Council, the Commission. We do not run a riotous bar. To me, you would have to have a history of running a riotous bar if that's in fact what people are saying that we do. We've never had a police call. We've never had a we've had one after-hour shift drink by 2 employees when we failed to turn off the open sign. And like Brad said, we're honorable men. I served honorably in the Marine Corps 6 years. I still serve today. I serve the public. I serve the city of Stoughton. I serve all the city Stoughton Council members. I appreciate this chance that was given to us. I appreciate it and I honor it. And that's what I'm about. That's what Brad's about. That's what our customers are about. We had a birthday party, and that birthday party, the ages range from 30 to 50. We opened our bar within the rights of the state and Dean County. I believe in their own evidence, they state that the city order was changed that day. We checked with the Department of Health on a daily to find out if we were allowed to be open. we were under the understanding that with the Tavern League that we were allowed to be open. Half of our business is food and the other half is liquor. We abide by all the laws that were set forth for bars, taverns, and restaurants to be open. The department officials testified that the shooting happened 40 yards from the front door. 40 yards. That's almost half of a football field, guys. Shakers runs a fun, safe, secure, clean, and I mean COVID clean, COVID-19 clean environment. We have door people, we check the door, we check IDs, we check people's temperatures. We have a heat gun or a temperature gun that hospitals use for admittance. We have a wand that we use like TSA uses for ordinary people to get on their airplanes. A metal wand so that we know that patrons that come in the bar are safe. All of our patrons are required to wear masks. We have masks at the front door for patrons that don't have masks. The photos that the city, that the police department put forth in evidence, when you're sitting down, you don't have to wear a mask. When you are standing, walking around, you do have to wear a mask. When you're dancing, I'm sure some of the masks sometimes fall on the earlobe. I'm not sure, but we've been trying to maintain that safely. We pride ourselves in going above and beyond what's required by the health department. And we take pride and appreciate once again, we take pride and we appreciate the second chance that the city council gave us to ensure a safe environment for all. We don't play vulgar music at the bar. I don't get into that sarcastic, vulgar language. I don't teach my children that. I don't mentor kids, disadvantaged kids in the city, in both Stoughton and in Madison that way. I teach them how to conduct themselves in a positive way without using that kind of language. I don't throw, when we have parties or this birthday party, we're not a riotous and disorderly or disobedient bar. The police department referred to our bar as a hip hop style party. Matter of fact, that's the opening statement of the Safety Commission. To insinuate that we're running an unsafe bar, but the truth couldn't be any further. They're saying that we're running a riotous bar because we play hip hop music. We play top 40 songs. There's a law called the Civil Liberties Law that allows people to listen to whatever music they want to listen to. But me and Brad go above and beyond that. We don't allow the vulgar stuff. It's not allowed in my bar. Never has been. We've never had a fight inside or outside. We've never had a violation other than the after-hour drink. We had a recent fire inspection with no violations. Guys, we're trying to do the best we can. This is my first pandemic. I'm 55 years old. This is my first pandemic I've ever endured. And it's frustrating. You hear a lot of different, from the health department, what's the law, what's not the law, what's the Tavern League, and what's not. It's awful frustrating, and we try to do the best we can running a safe environment. We swab up after people sit down with safety solution, with alcohol. We clean people's seating area, whether it's at the bar, we swab everything down, we clean our hands continuously. I thought we hired nurses to check people's temperatures. We had, we trying to put Stoughton on the map. Unfortunately, we're shooting a movie during a pandemic, but nonetheless, a lot of the actors that we have in the bar, their management companies require that we do, that we go above and beyond safety protocol to have their actors in the bar. So trust me, when we're safe, we're safe. And any of you are allowed, once we get over this, I welcome you to come down to the bar and see how we run the bar. We're not a riotous, disorderly bar. Our history does not show that we're running a riotous, disorderly bar. There was a situation that happened with a previous owner that he's divested from the company, and we were given a second chance for the police department to bring up what happened. Is like a slap in the face to the city council, I would think. You guys gave me a second chance. We've already been down that road before, and the police department keeps bringing it up. We're not running a disorderly bar, guys. We're not running a riotous bar, period. I'd like to talk too about the safety commission and what's the protocol for safe. The city's attorney, or the police department's attorney, sarcastically states that we're running a super spreader party. Sarcastically, I don't find any joking about what's going on with this pandemic. We've all had friends that gotten ill or have died. We're trying to operate as safe as we can without any positive COVID-19. So what is the proper protocol on reporting somebody that is positive or tested positive? This person that was involved in this shooting at the hospital was allegedly tested positive for COVID-19, but we've never seen any papers. The city lawyer didn't put that into evidence. The city lawyer, the pictures or the exhibits that they submitted doesn't show this person being in the bar. The city has not proved, the city attorney safety did not prove that the guy was even in my bar. The detective, you're taking me on my shit. The detective, sorry about that, guys. The detective even states that he did not ask anybody in the bar for any statements. The detective states that he asked the person if he had COVID-19 or asked the doctor. They said yes. But let me ask the city, what is the proper protocol of informing a bar or owner or that I can then tell the people to quarantine their friends? Why did this detective wait until a safety meeting 2 months later to let us know that there was somebody that tested positive for COVID-19? What is a proper protocol for that? And why would they wait for a safety meeting 2 months later to let us know that somebody tested positive? If the city safety committee is deeming this pandemic as serious as it is, why in God's name wouldn't they let us know that somebody tested positive 2 months earlier? October 10th. The safety meeting was December 3rd. I find that very hard to believe why they withheld that information with the pandemic that we're facing. Why the city attorney would sarcastically bring up the fact, calling it a super spreader. We don't have super spreaders. The city attorney is out of line, way out of line, should probably be disbarred. It's terrible. The commentary that he made to the city council for what, a laugh? I don't know, to put us down? I don't know, to sarcastically submit evidence? I don't know. a person was allegedly in the bar. And for the detective that was supposed to and do his detective work, why didn't he? I wanted what wasn't in that safety report or the city's attorney report. Who are these two girls that substantiate this gentleman's story that he was in the bar? These two women were never introduced into any evidence, yet we couldn't ever cross-examine because we weren't even given a police report. Due process for us just never happened. And it's frustrating that detectives and officers and people of the law are referring to statements and people of a police report that we were never given a copy of. And that's after oral and written requests. It's just very frustrating. It's very frustrating when evidence is being withheld from us. And yet, my last attorney, guys, cost $23,000. This pandemic has crippled me. I can't open a bar, I can't operate, and I'm cool with that as far as it's safe. We've tried to make it as safe as we could. I can't afford an attorney right now, guys. And that's probably the bottom line of quite a few businesses that are going under. But I want to be treated fairly. I fought for people's rights in the Marines. Well, damn it, shouldn't I have some of my own rights?
All right, does that
We've never had a police call. Never. There's an officer that testified at the safety hearing that he's been to the bar several times. We've never filed a police report. We've never needed to. We've never had that kind of a crowd. No fights, no riotous act, no disorderly act. I don't know what's going on, really. I don't know the agenda of this whole thing was brought on by the chief of police. I don't know what the agenda is. It's certainly not us. Why aren't they charging the two people that committed this terrible act? Why aren't they charging them? Why is this coming across a bar? Or doesn't make any sense, guys. When you guys voted to give me a second chance, I think there was a lot of anger by the people that, and me included. There was anger all the way around. And I think that we're being unfairly treated. I think that these accusations are false. I know these accusations are false. I think we're just being, treated biased with prejudice. And we asked for an extension, but when I was interrupting the city council, I was ready to go forward with oral arguments, and the heck with the written. I'm losing sleep over this, guys. I experience a lot of health issues. My heart pressure is up through the roof. Been in the ER more times than I can count. So I want you guys to make the best decision. And this testimony that I'm giving you, or this argument, is coming from my heart. It's coming from the truth. I think there's an agenda on the other side that just isn't fitting the narrative. I think if you request, or if I do a request for this videotape, it'll answer every question, because it goes against the agenda of what the police chief or what the police department wants. They want to shut us down. I think we're being profiled, and profile is a law. And I think I think it's breaking the law. very uncomfortable for me to talk about this because I have many friends that wear the blue uniform. I have many friends that are detectives, judges. You know, like Aaron said, he works with task force to get gangs to steer kids away from them, to walk the line. That's what I do in Madison and in Stoughton. Not all of us have the right answers, but not all of us have the wrong answers either. And we're just trying to stay afloat. We're trying to abide by the law, and we're trying to do the right thing. And I don't appreciate all this being thrown at us, that we had anything to do with this shooting. Charge the people that were involved. Don't charge me.
All right, is that the end of your statement?
Sorry, sir?
Is that all you'll be presenting tonight?
Well, I have more, but I think the gist of it has been said. The city did not put forth the evidence. You'll see in the evidence that all they're making is theories, or they allege that there was anyone in the bar. There's a lot of accusations, but no proof. There's no, the photos that they submitted in the exhibits, they don't show anything but people in the bar. They never showed us what Sherrod Temple even looks like. And I would think a great way to squash all of this would be to see if there's somebody in that photo that matches the description. Hopefully the detective took a picture of this gentleman in the hospital, of what he was wearing, what color his pants were, or his shirt, so that they can pick this guy out in the photos that they submitted to the bar. Like I said, we don't even know what Sherrod Temple looks like, let alone what he was wearing. And I would hope that detective ask those questions, or ask the questions of the girl to back up this guy's story. Because let's face it, the whole reason we're in this predicament is because there was a shooting outside 40 yards on the other side, the back side of the hotel. And the gentleman told the cops that he was in the bar, a bar that he didn't even remember the name of. I think it was a story that got him out of trouble. Did this officer check these two girls? I don't know. I haven't seen the police report. Our due process has been denied. It's just terrible. I mean, you guys say to yourself, have you ever been railroaded? Have you ever been, has anyone ever brought charges against you that could ruin your business or run it dry, or lied, or maybe didn't tell the whole truth? I mean, there's an oath that cops take, and I'm not saying that there's cops out there that are doing that, but you know, they're creating a narrative that I had something to do with something I never had something to do with. And so put yourself in my shoes. If you guys, every person on the city council was accused of doing something, but then the accuser doesn't show the evidence of what you're being accused of, how do you cross-examine, or how do you have a proper quasi hearing? You don't. Listen, if we lose, and I'm talking to every member of the city council, it's been a pleasure to serve each and every one of you. But all of this is coming from my heart. I'm clicking my pen and I'm talking into the phone. There's nothing that was written down. I mean, I'm living what the problem. And the problem is something happened that we have videotape evidence of, or the city does. And something happened, but you're profiling the bar to be part of it. And that's not true. So with that, it can go, but let me just finish, I suppose. Just put yourself in my shoes, guys, with the accusations and everything. And how would you defend yourself? I'm just trying to do the best I can with limited resources. I know we've had time to do a lot of things, but my health has certainly been a factor. Been in a wheelchair now for 4 months, and it's not easy. Been in the ER a couple times and none of this is anything to do with this, but my health is certainly a concern. As is all of our health, as is the pandemic and the health of others. And I certainly do appreciate if you guys vote that we should be, we should be lose our or be revocated, and then so be it. And I accept it as a man and as a human. But I'm leaving it all here. I'm leaving it all in the court. I'm not holding anything back. If you guys decide to revocate me, it's been nice to know you, nice to serve you, and to serve the community. And that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you very much. So next, I believe would be Miss Attorney Matthew. Is that what I'm understanding? Unmute yourself, Al.
Sorry. Does any of the members of the council have questions for Mr. Meyer?
Sure.
Any questions for Mr. Meyer?
I guess I have a question of what the night in question, but I guess because it's not necessarily the shooting that I'm concerned with, because I realize that bad things happen, but it's more the public safety issue. And I guess I'm curious, because I'm not on public safety. What was your understanding of that night of what you were supposed to do with respect to the orders at the state and county level?
So can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. My understanding was from the Tavern League that we could have 25% occupancy. Our occupancy at the bar is normally 300. And so 25% would mean 69 patrons. And then I have 5 employees for a total of 74 people inside the bar. That was my understanding by the Tavern League, that we could be open, because we do half of our business is, if you've ever had Brad's chicken wings, half our business is those wings. We go through 50 pounds of it every night that we would throw a party. So we were closed for 2 months prior. Out of the year that I've had the bar, I've been closed 8 months.
Okay, that's
I
fine.
hope I
So
answered your
you're
question.
assuming, can I speak? You were
Yes.
assuming at that time that you were actually acting as a restaurant and not a tavern, because actually,
Nope.
well, because
We were
the law, excuse me, because the order at the county level at that date said that for taverns, only for the purpose of ordering, pickup, and payment of food or beverage, or while in transit. Restaurants were able to be at 25% capacity. So that is a concern that you had some misinformation. And also,
ma'am,
I guess, sure.
Can I respond? I'm sorry.
Or just try to make the answers distinct.
Yeah, I can't see the screen. All I can see is a cell phone in front of me, so I apologize. But I was given that information by Peter, the head of the Tavern League, that I could be open. He's the head of the Tavern League. The other thing, we would call the Department of Health every day to make sure that we were, that October 10th was within the laws or the standards that the City Health for Dane County and the state of Wisconsin put forth. I think Tailgaters and the Viking and everyone else runs it at 25%. And I'm pretty sure other bars in the city of Stoughton operate at that level. As a matter of fact, they're still operating today at that level. They're operating right now at that level.
Any
If
other
somebody
questions?
wants to go there.
Any other questions from council members?
I had a question.
I'll go
Yes,
ahead.
sir.
Oliver.
So a couple things from the testimony stood out to me. The police officer before the shooting was denied entry to the bar initially. The bar owners claimed that this person who denied entry was not an employee. And then there's the testimony that there was someone at the door with the clicker and taking people's temperature. I'm not sure how these two things square up. If anyone could address that.
Sure, and thank you for the question, sir. So we had answering your question about the city, the police officers were never denied by any staff or manager or owners of Shaker Saloon ever. There was a drunk patron that went outside and told the police officers that they weren't welcome in the bar, but that was a drunk patron, and his name is Jeff Vick. And he's got, I think, several people have run into problems, and but I don't know what deal he has with the city, but he certainly is not. He's a patron of our bar. He's not a employee, manager, anything. He has nothing to do with Shaker Saloon. So the police came in. Brad went out and talked to the cops and invited them in, and the cops came in, walked 2 steps in the door, and then walked back out the door. And that was the extent of that. We do have clickers. Our door guys do have clickers, and they do click when people walk in. We had 69 patrons in the bar. I don't know. Hopefully that answers your questions. I don't know what in the report where that was brought up or why it was brought up, but I do have 2 door guys at that event, and they're trained door security, and we do everything proper and within like I said, we go above and beyond for safety, period. Just like TSA does for airplanes, just like the hospitals do for people entering the hospital. We even sometimes have nurses to help us with this whole pandemic.
Thank you. And I do have a follow-up. So this was at a count of 69 people. Were you turning people away that night? Were you turning a lot of people away that night? Was there a line to get in?
Yes, we were, sir, and thank you for asking that question. We were. We've always maintained that. There was a lot of people that were trying to get in, but they couldn't get in, and they were standing in the parking lot. We did have a door guy, Jason Hubbard, that went outside several occasions and, would ask people to leave if they, we were trying to control the people that were in the parking lot.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Any other questions for council members? Mr. Meyer, I had a question for you. Were you there that night?
No, I wasn't. I was in the hospital.
Okay.
Bradley Dillman was there. Bradley Dillman was there, the general manager of the bar.
Okay. All right. And then I did have a question about the cameras.
Yes, go ahead. Thank you for asking.
There was mixed testimony about whether or not the cameras could produce a videotape of the events. There were some statements that when the officers were in the building that night that we would not be able to access any videotape, only to find out later that we could.
So can I don't mean to cut you off or anything, but can I answer that now?
Sure.
Okay. I like I said, I don't have any visual of the screen, so all I have is Brad's cell phone. So thank you for asking that question. We have never had access to the video equipment. Rakesh, the owner of the Days Inn, owns the building there that I lease out of, a 111 Shelley Drive. He forgot the password. I've never had access. I never even knew it recorded. But we do have cameras in the bar, simply like anyone else would have cameras in their home to deter anyone from acting out. Whether it's rock and roll or country music or American Top 40 or dance music, whatever, we kept them up. The one thing that we did have, we never had any recording of anything. I never even knew it worked. I did know, because we didn't have access to it, I didn't know any of the passcodes. I'm not a forensics guy. I don't know how to dig into that. Computers didn't come to me until late in life. I was born in 65. I'm 55 years old. My first computer was the size of a refrigerator, and I went to Edgewood High School, a very private school. So I think if me and computers don't get along. I don't know how my cell phone works. I just know that I speak into it and people listen, and then I listen to them. I'm not a tech guy. I don't know how to do that stuff. So when I told you in the testimony that we have no idea how that videotape works, and then the attorney sarcastically comes back and says, well, we were able to find stuff. Well, congratulations. I'm not hiding anything. I don't hide. I'm an alpha wolf. I just let you know how it is. I don't blow smoke and I don't blow screen smoke. I'm a very humble man. You know, if I win, we all win. You know, I mean, if I lose, you know, hopefully somebody else wins. But I'm not afraid to lose or win. I just live it. I just live what I'm dealt, and that's how I do it. I have no access to the video. Didn't know that it recorded. Didn't have any access to any recordings. That was it. So sorry for a long-winded message.
No, I mean, that's okay. I mean, when I went back to the first testimony, there was testimony by your staff that said you had cameras and they were purged on SD cards.
No. I mean, Brad's sitting right here and he can answer that question, but
well, if you go back,
we don't have that. Yeah.
That was Brad's testimony at the first hearing. So
well,
and when I see inconsistencies like that, it throws up a big red flag for me.
Sir, can I answer that?
I think you just did. So any other council members have any questions?
That was Steve that So, sir, are you talking about the December 3rd meeting? Or what statement are you saying?
I'm talking about during the first hearing.
The December 3rd hearing?
No, I'm talking about when we had the issue with Mr. Kittleson.
Oh,
so
I thought we've already been through that. The city council didn't revocate the license. The city council granted me a second chance. I thought we've already. We're talking about are we talking about the shooting in the parking lot?
I'm talking about the testimony. So anyway,
I can answer. I can answer that question and clarify it.
This isn't. We're not in a position to have witnesses here. You know, we're talking to Mr. Meyer. He's the representative. So you know, we're going with the evidence that was presented to us. Any other council members have any questions? Alderperson Boersma?
Yes, I do just have a question, and that is, for the owner of the bar.
Yes, sir.
And I'm not sure if this is really relevant, but I think it is for me. As a council person, in the event that you would not be granted what you want, and there would be a revocation of the liquor license, would you be able to get out of your lease, leasing that property?
No, I signed a 5-year lease and we're 1 year into it. If I walked away with it, I'd lose my deposit, my security deposit. I appreciate opportunities to do business in Stoughton. I don't know what decision you're going to make, but whatever you recommend, I'll follow your order, your rule.
So just to follow up, to follow up, you just have to negotiate. You'd have to negotiate with the owner of the facility to see whether or not you can get out of the lease, correct?
That's probably another court case, or not a court case, but that's probably, I'd probably lose my deposit if I was to leave. I mean, there's, like I said, I appreciate, I probably close the doors, but I mean, it's just been a real rough ride. I didn't go into this knowing that any of this would ever happen. The only reason I had Dale as a partner is because he was into music, and I seemed to know every band, and we wanted to bring rock and roll down there. Matter of fact, the first night that we had rock and roll, we had it from the people that were involved that grew up in your city. The lead guitarist grew up in your city, and so we thought it was like a coming home at Shaker's Saloon. Yeah, he's totally divested and out of the company and has nothing to do with going forward. And that was part of the city council. That was part of the city council for allowing me to have the second chance, and I did not burn it.
I have a follow-up
question. I just appreciate your answer to my question, and I think I got it. So thank you.
President Hirsch, did you have another question?
Yeah, to follow up on Alderperson Boersma's question, if your license is revoked, would you just stay with your kind of, takeout order, your restaurant business and your music? I mean, there are other opportunities that you could create without necessarily a liquor license that, I don't know if you could reapply for that liquor license at some point in the distant future, but there are other ways that you could revamp your business if that was such. If there are a lot of bars or taverns that are dry that still play music and still offer food, so there are other opportunities as well. And I was just wondering if that is an option for you.
I'm not really sure where he went, so we probably need to wrap up this.
They were caller number 1, and a flash came up that caller 1 has left.
All right, we'll see if they call back in, but while we're waiting, we do need to wrap this up so we can get the rest of the hearing.
Still here. Yeah. So just give me 1 second. I'm getting reconnected, please.
Okay.
I'm just trying. I can't hear you. Then fucking do it.
Oh man, I gotta go, man. Oh, don't shush me.
Well, I can't. Hello?
Hey, can you guys hear us?
See you guys.
Back on.
All right.
Are you guys
Hello?
there?
Yes, we're here. Yeah, we lost.
Okay, so President Hirsch
Sorry
has
about
some questions. We asked for a succinct answer. We have a lot of other business we have to take care of. We still have to
Yeah.
hear from the other attorneys here. So what was your question again, President Hirsch?
Sure. It was a follow-up to Alderperson Boersma question with respect to if your liquor license is revoked, would you still maintain your business as, you know, the carry out and the music? I mean, there's a lot of venues that are becoming more popular without serving alcohol. And I mean, I do appreciate that you do have different music and you have, you know, you have clientele that are not served in other parts of the city. So is that an opportunity for you that you would explore if your license is revoked?
Thank you for that question. And there certainly is areas to explore with still offering the great food that we put out and creating venues that the city can be proud of and that the people of Stoughton can be proud of. We've submitted for PPP loans and grants for the business to stay afloat, and we're trying the best we can on our end to still offer that. Sure, non-alcoholic bars are something that I've thought about. You know, in the Marines, we have a saying, adapt and overcome. And if you come back with a revocation, whether it's or a fact that the city didn't prove with their agenda, and that we were still able to hold the liquor license, I'll always look for what's the best interest of the city. I don't want to be a sore an eyesore to anybody. I want to be somebody that's innovative and creates entertainment and opportunity in a safe environment for everybody, period. That's all I've ever done, and that's what I want to continue to do.
Thank you.
All right, any final questions from alders? All right, hearing none, do you guys want to take a break or you want to keep going?
Are you talking to me?
I'm talking to the council members. Do you guys want to
I
keep going?
apologize.
Yeah, let's move on,
Let's
Tim.
keep moving.
I'm okay to
Yeah,
continue.
I'm fine.
All right, so at this point, I'll turn it over to Attorney Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the City Council. In April, the city suspended Shaker's liquor license for allowing its registered agent on the licensed premises with the intent to deliver cocaine. In doing so, the city gave Shaker's a second chance to turn its business around and become a responsible establishment. Since coming off the suspension, Shaker's has completely wasted that opportunity by holding parties in the pandemic against county orders, allowing a shooting to occur on its premises, over-serving patrons, denying officers access to the bar to perform inspections. Many of these events standing alone would warrant revocation of a liquor license. But here we have a pattern of behavior. Consequently, tonight, we ask that you revoke Shaker's liquor license. We're in the midst of a global pandemic due to COVID-19, a highly contagious and deadly disease. On October 10th of this year, officers did a bar check at Shaker's because they received information that Shaker's was violating emergency health orders put in place to curb the spread of COVID-19. When officers arrived, Shaker's originally denied them entry, or as Mr. Myers said, a drunk patron denied them entry. When the officers were allowed to enter, they estimated 100 to 150 people were inside. At the revocation hearing and tonight, Shaker's has admitted that it allowed approximately 70 patrons inside plus staff. However, all of Shaker's arguments are essentially irrelevant on their defense of this event because they shouldn't have even been open that night. there was a Dane County health order that prohibited taverns from having events like this. In admitting that it was operating illegally, Shakers claims that it instituted health protocols. However, bar patrons and employees ignored those protocols that were in place. There was no social distancing. Officers estimated only 10% of the people in the bar wore masks. Photographs even show employees not wearing masks, including Bradley Dillman, who was the general manager and in charge that night. To make matters worse, we know at least one person tested positive for COVID-19 while the event. So not only was Shakers, and I don't say this sarcastically, holding a super spreader event, but the corporation's manager forcibly removed the registered agent and locked her out of the building after the agent raised an objection to opening. Not only is all of this conduct patently irresponsible and reckless, but if the registered agent has no real authority at Shakers, it begs the question of who is actually in charge. During the super spreader event, a shootout began at Shakers parking lot, resulting in 15 shots fired and one person being shot at least 6 times. The victim was highly intoxicated during the time of the shooting. Adding to that danger is that Shakers is located in a building with a motel and surrounded by residential buildings. So not only did Shakers' negligence that night put the 2 people at risk, but the surrounding community as well. Shakers has argued that this happened outside of their bar in a joint parking lot, or they've tried to blame this on the hotel. However, that's irrelevant. Evidence was presented that the victim of the shooting was in the bar for 2 to 3 hours prior to the event. Taverns are always responsible for the conduct of their patrons, even after leaving the bar. As the report notes from the PSC, 2 Wisconsin cases have held that activity of bar patrons after leaving the bar is entirely relevant to determine whether the establishment is disorderly, indecent, or improper. Further, the event from last December, a year ago, in 2019, involving Dale Kittleson, Shakers' former owner and registered agent, cannot be forgotten. Dale Kittleson was arrested at Shakers with large quantities of cocaine in his possession. The city determined that he possessed cocaine with the intent to deliver in violation of state and city liquor laws. Shakers received a suspension for that violation. In addition to the shooting, the super spreader event, and cocaine on the premises, you have Shakers being evasive throughout the entire process. When officers investigated the shooting, Shakers told the officers no video existed in the bar. Yet officers recovered video evidence from the bar cameras. We have Shakers denying entry to officers on 2 occasions after the shooting. Or I should say 1 after the shooting, 1 before the shooting. They also had a closing hours violation. These events unequivocally show that Shakers cannot be trusted to keep any promises or operate in a responsible fashion. None of these facts are in dispute. Shakers conceded that it held the party on October 10th. There is no dispute that a shooting occurred in the parking lot. There is no dispute that Mr. Kittleson had cocaine on the premises when he was the owner and registered agent for the establishment. Other allegations at the hearing went unrebutted. Tonight, you're being asked to revoke the liquor license because Shakers operates a disorderly, riotous, indecent, or improper house. The PSC report does an excellent job of explaining the broad application of this provision. Many of Shakers' violations could stand on their own for revoking the liquor license. A shooting shows a disorderly or riotous house. A super spreader event in violation of county orders in a global pandemic shows an indecent or improper house. An owner of the corporation possessing cocaine with the intent to deliver is indecent or improper. Violating closing hours or prohibiting police entry are improper and disorderly. In sum, the totality of the events can lead to no other outcome but revocation. These series of events are egregious and that cannot be tolerated, especially since Shakers has already received a second chance from the city. If this conduct does not warrant revocation after Shakers already received a suspension, then there is no incentive for any establishment to follow rules. The fact that all this already occurred after Shakers had received a suspension only makes these violations more egregious. A good business would be on its best behavior following a suspension of a liquor license. That was not the case with Shakers. Shakers obviously doesn't care about the rules or thinks the rules don't apply to them. It evidences extremely poor judgment and decision-making, and unequivocally demonstrates that they don't deserve a license. Again, Shakers was given a second chance to show they could be a responsible business worthy of the privilege of a liquor license, but instead they've endangered the community, both by holding a super spreader event, one that we know of, and being unable to maintain an orderly crowd. And just to address a couple of points raised by Mr. Meyer in his argument, as far as due process goes, I reached out to Mr. Meyer prior to or after the complaint was served on him back in October, prior to the first hearing that was scheduled in, I think it was November 5th. They've had my contact information the entire time. I never received any correspondence or phone calls from Mr. Meyer asking for evidence. It wasn't until after the hearing that they started at making requests. In fact, to this day, I still haven't received any requests from Shakers or any of its representatives. I guess it's my understanding that record requests have been submitted to the city, but there has been no contact with me. And I think it can't go unnoticed that there seems to be a pattern with Shakers over serving. The shooting victim was described as extremely intoxicated during the hearing. There was a woman who was celebrating her birthday who was doing 32 shots. And Mr. Meyer admitting tonight that the person that denied the police officer's entry on October 10th, he was drunk at the time. I think that's showing a pattern of behavior of them over serving their patrons. So I guess just to reiterate, there's no evidence that shows that Shakers can be responsible in the community. Accordingly, we request that you find Shakers in violation of state and city liquor laws for maintaining a riotous, indecent, or otherwise disorderly house, and that the city revoke Shakers' license. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Attorney Reuter, what would be the next step here?
Well, there are two issues that the board has to address. The council has to address. The first is the content of the Public Safety Committee report. Under your ordinances, that report becomes the report of the council unless there's a motion that passes at the council level, changing any part of that. So I think the first order of business would be for a motion to either adopt the Public Safety Committee's report as written, or to adopt it with amendments, or to reject it completely. Once that is done, the next question for the council is if you find that the allegations of the complaint are true, which by adopting the Public Safety Committee's report, you would be finding that those allegations are true, then the question is what should be the appropriate penalty for the violation. And that's anything that a range of a suspension from 10 to 90 days or a vacation are the two options that would be available. So the first question is, does the council want to adopt the committee's report with or without modification, or reject that report?
Your Honor?
Go ahead, Alderperson Boersma.
I move to adopt the report submitted by Public Safety to the council.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, thank you for the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
And any
Aye.
opposed? And any abstentions? All right, that motion carries. So then the next step would be?
The next step would be a motion to impose a sanction for the violations.
All right, anybody want to take a stab at that?
Your Honor?
Boersma.
Yeah, I move to that the city council take steps to revoke the liquor license to this establishment.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion on that one? Are those motions specific enough?
Yes.
Okay, any discussion?
I have a question, just a general question. If we revoke their license, is that permanent, or is there like a period of time that they could reapply at some other point? I'm just kind of curious because we've never done this before.
I believe your ordinances provide that the license cannot be reissued for a period of a year, but let me pull that up and confirm that.
I believe that's correct, Attorney Reuter. Or any license, actually, I think within that premise as well.
Holly, would that be just a liquor license or this particular type of license? It's not restricted from other types of licenses?
Yes, liquor licenses. I don't have the ordinances up in front of me, though. I think Attorney Reuter does.
Yeah, the ordinance provides that when a license is revoked under this section, the revocation shall be recorded by the city clerk, and no other license issued under this article shall be granted to such licensee or for such premises for a period of 12 months from the date of the revocation. So it would be limited to liquor licenses, and it would be 12 months, and neither the licensee nor the premises could be licensed.
And then the follow-up question, based on what I read in the public safety document, Chada Hoffman actually has requested to remove her, her license from that premise. Is that ever done? And therefore they actually don't have a license at this point, or they don't have an agent?
I can answer that. She is the agent, and she initially had worked with Sergeant Fritsch, I believe it was, to have it removed, and it was denied. They were denied entrance, and I believe that's in the testimony. And later, I believe she rescinded that request.
Okay, so she still is the agent then?
She is still the agent.
Okay.
Alderperson Boersma?
Yeah, part of my question to the owner was related to this specific issue, and that is that if the liquor license is revoked, you know, what would he do with the facility? So when Mr. Reuter just mentioned that, my assumption is that he could continue to operate as a restaurant. You know, that we're not taking away that possibility. My motion was simply for the liquor license revocation. Is that correct, Attorney Reuter?
That is correct, and that's the only license that is on the floor for discussion at this point.
Okay. Any other questions from council members? All right. Hearing no further questions, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? And any abstentions? All right, that motion carries. Is there something we have to do on our end, or will you work that out with our clerk?
The clerk could take it from here.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate both attorneys and those that attended on behalf of Shakers this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you.
All right, next item on the agenda is the
Can I ask a question?
item number 6 is a resolution approving an amendment to the project plan for District 4. And this one comes from the Plan Commission, and we also had a joint review board meeting this week. You want to go into the presentation, or would you like to start out with a motion, Jamin, or what are we doing with this one?
I'll leave it up to Dave. I think we can just go into the presentation though.
All right, does he need the screen, or?
If you want me to run the screen, I can.
All right, I'll see if I can hand it off to you, or if Holly has to do that. Let's see. All right, it's all yours.
Let's see here. Let's share. Okay. All right. Thank you for letting me present. This will be my third time doing it, but I will, since you're more in the know on this one, because we started talking about this back when we did the financial management plan, I probably won't get quite as deep. And if you have questions, I'd be happy to go deeper if that's necessary. As you remember from our presentation in the fall, the TIF districts have some issues as far as TID 5 and TID 8 having advances from the general fund, as well as some potential future property tax levy support that might be necessary to make the two districts close successfully. So what's before you tonight is a project plan which allows TID 4, which the expenditure period for TID 4 actually ends on March 23rd of 2021. That's why we're trying to amend this before that, because if we don't amend before that date, we can't actually put this into place. What will happen is that at that date is that you'll still be allowed to share increment and pay for administration and the financing costs that you still have for the debt issues. But this will give you the ability to help those two TIF districts out where they're starting to have influences on your financial health, which in the end could have an effect on your rating. So just to kind of go through this district was created back in 1999 as a blight district. You've amended it 3 times, 1 for territory. This would be the 3rd time just for the sharing purpose. There are no new costs other than the sharing of the increment. There isn't any new projects associated with this one. We've asked the Joint Review Board we gave them a presentation and gave them the tests that they need to be able to sign off on when they meet again in February. We're almost got that date down. I know Ryan is trying to nail that down. But we gave them a presentation, and the only question that we got from the Joint Review Board was the school district asking about development possibilities in TID number 8. Planning Commission also heard the presentation, and there were no questions at all at public hearing, none from the committee members nor from the public at all. As far as the rest of the project plan, there's pictures of the maps. I'm pretty sure you're aware of where these are located. We have this is a little bit small, I'll blow that one up a little bit, but we have the increment projection, which over the next few years, we anticipate getting about $174,000 of increment through the last year that you can collect revenue or increment on this district, which is 2026. So this district will basically, instead of being able to close this year, you would be approving that it stays open until 2026 to help out the 2 TIF districts. As far as the condition of the districts, like I said before, TIF 4, if we did nothing other than the 100,000 of revolving loan funds that we've talked about doing, you would have the opportunity to close this year. If you don't do that and you amend the district, then it would close in the final year that you can collect revenue. For TIF number 5, we basically have an advance at the end. If there's no, this basically says no growth, which we're hopefully will have some growth. But if there was no growth with what is on the ground right now to recover, we would have an advance. We'd close with an advance to the general fund about 265,000, plus we were anticipating about 425,000 of levy support. So that'd be about $700,000 that the general taxpayer may have to foot the bill for if this district doesn't have some help. Like I said, if you have some growth out there, hopefully that isn't quite as bad and you won't have that much of a deficit. After the sharing, if still going with no growth, we do close in the first year of the extension that was approved in the past, where we would be able to get rid of the advance and we would not have to have as much levy support. We probably keep it open to 2039 to recover that levy to pay the taxpayers back for that portion. In TID 8, This one's got a little more of a severe effect, but like we were talking about, the school district asked about some of the development possibilities in TIF 8 with the RDA working with a developer. And so hopefully that this will look a lot better. But with no growth, you have a potential advance at the end of $250,000 from the general fund and almost $1 million of levy support. So, you know, that's a pretty big piece to chew off, but hopefully with some good development and the help from TIF 4, maybe you can close this out quite a bit earlier. With the sharing and no further growth, we're able to pay off the advance pretty early on, but then, you know, we really don't collect much revenue to be able to pay back that levy support. So we still would have a fairly big chunk of money that the taxpayer would be footing on this, even with this sharing. So TIF 8 really, you know, even with the sharing, needs to have that growth to finish successfully as well. But, you know, the gist of what we're trying to do here is take advantage of successful TIF to help a couple TIFs that are underperforming, and try to avoid some of the financial impact that may affect your bond rating and your financial health as a city. So as far as timing goes, like I said, the Joint Review Board met yesterday to organize. The Planning Commission approved this unanimously. The motion they made was to approve their resolution contingent upon the opinion from the city's attorney. The resolution that you'll consider tonight also talks about the fact that the project plan has an opinion. We would recommend that you approve the project plan if you're so desiring to, with the contingency that it's contingent upon the city attorney's opinion as well. We think that if that was in place by the Joint Review Board, which would be probably around February 8th, that would be sufficient. Otherwise, once the Joint Review Board meets, we have about 60 days to get everything into the Department of Revenue, and things are rocking and rolling. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. I can bring up that resolution too if you want that in there. So basically it states what needs to be in the project plan to you know, have you approve it. So the only thing that we would be waiting on is just having the city attorney provide that. And if you could approve that contingent, you'd be good to go.
All right, any questions from council members?
I have a question. You had a public hearing last night. Was there anybody that in attendance, and what was their concerns or their support for this?
You want me to answer that, Mayor?
Sure.
There were nobody in the public that attended the meeting, and there was no questions from commission members at all either.
Okay, thank you.
All right, any other questions? And I guess I would look to Alderperson Caravello, since he's on the Plan Commission, if you want to make a motion for the resolution contingent on the attorney letter.
I would like to make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second the motion.
All right, any discussion?
Oh, looks good.
All right, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 And
Aye.
any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. You can probably hand the screen off, Dave, to me, and I appreciate you being here again tonight.
No problem. Happy to be here. Have a good rest of your meeting.
All right, thank you. The next three items are first readings from the Plan Commission. And Alderperson Caravello, do you want to take them away? The first ordinances of the year.
Sure. Can you put them up on the screen?
Yeah, I gotta figure out how to, Holly might need to set me up again to share. Thank you. And I just need to get to the ordinance.
Okay,
There it is.
there it is. Thank you, sir. This is ordinance 1 of 2021. Again, this is a first reading. An ordinance providing for the direct annexation by unanimous approval of a portion of the town of Rutland to the city of Stoughton, Dane County, Wisconsin.
And that one's on first reading. Do you want to brief us or do you want some support?
I'm sure I'll hand it to Rodney, but this is just for annexation of approximately 4 acres from the town of Rutland. It's a piece that will be used in anticipation of it being used for park space on the west side of the what we refer to as Kettle Park West.
I think you did a nice job, Phil. I would just add that this was one of the conditions of the development agreement to move forward with this annexation to help satisfy the parkland dedication requirements for that phase of Kettle Park West.
Excellent. This one would be back at the next meeting. If anybody has any questions, we'll entertain them now, or you can submit them to Director Shield between now and the next meeting.
I just have one question, Your Honor.
Sure, go ahead.
What does Rutland think about this?
I don't think they didn't file any objections to this annexation request that I'm aware of.
Okay. They're probably aware of it from before. I would assume because they've probably been approached in the past, given the fact that this has been on the table for a while. Correct?
They're directly notified of annexations during the process for annexation.
Thank you.
All right, any other questions on this one? All right, then we'll go to the next one, Alderperson Caravello.
And if you want to throw that up on the screen again, that would be there. No, that's 3. There's 2. Okay, thank you. This is ordinance 2 of 2021, an ordinance providing for the direct annexation by unanimous approval of a portion of the town of Rutland to the city of Stoughton, Dane County, Wisconsin, and this is a first reading. And this is regarding the annexation of approximately 1.152 acres from Rutland. This is just south of the roundabout. This piece is just south of the roundabout that's on 138 and is, I guess it was, if it was going to have an address, it would be addressed on Macomb Road, if you're familiar with where that is according to the maps that are included.
Just supplementing, this is actually one of the pieces of land that was requested by the city council as part of the TIF agreement to initiate the annexation request for this piece that would allow the utility land to be served by the 4th leg of the roundabout at some point in the future.
Right, and I think Holly has some clarification. This one is an ordinance. Is that the clarification?
No, the clarification is actually in the ordinance, it lists that this annexation will be added to Ward 5 within the city of Stoughton, but it will actually be added to Ward 9 within the city of Stoughton. And that will be, I will make that correction on the ordinance when we bring it back for the second reading.
That's item number 5.
Yes, the ward designation. There's nobody lives here, but we do have to get it into the correct ward when we do annex it into the city.
Okay, thank you for that. Any questions on this one?
I do.
Go ahead.
I realize it's been on council too long and becoming too obvious, but I would just ask Rodney, what does Rutland think about this one?
Same response as the last. They would have been directly notified of the annexation and were not aware of any objection from the town.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, the third one.
And this is Resolution 3 of 2021, amending the council rules to include updates. Wait. Yeah. No, this is, what is this? No, this, I'm looking for an ordinance.
You are, and I either skipped over it or I missed it.
There it is.
I'm sorry about that.
This is, you kind of, it was a test. This is Ordinance 3 of 2020 of 2020. Well, there's an oops right there on the file number. So should I just, okay.
Now you know why I didn't click on it.
This will be Ordinance 3 of 2021, amending zoning code section 78-722 of the Stoughton Municipal Code. And this is a first reading once again. And this amendment is proposed as an alternative to placing fencing around that encloses a swimming pool, and instead placing the fencing on top of the pool wall and around any decking and stairs to prevent access without adult supervision. This, of course, is for above ground pools.
Anything to add to that one, Rodney?
I think that sums it up well. It's really using the pool wall height as part of the protection with an additional fencing level above the surface of the pool edge to be at least 5 feet tall.
This one was brought to us by a citizen, and we're hoping we can accommodate them. One of the key things on this one would be the closing, self-latching gate. I think that was something that we spent a lot of time discussing in order to make this thing safe. So if you have any questions on this one or any of the other ones, like I said, feel free to reach out to Rodney between now and the next meeting. Are there any initial questions on this one?
My question, Your Honor, is what does Rutland think? No, I'll withdraw that.
I know it was coming. All right. So
we did go back and forth a number of times on this one on committee. So I think we had this at 2, maybe even 3 separate meetings, I believe. So we did do our diligence in this one. Learned a lot more about swimming pools and fences, I think, than maybe we needed.
All right, so those are all first readings. We'll go to the next item, the one that I tried to sneak past Phil, but it never works. The next one was Resolution 2 of 2021, and this one came from Public Works, Alderperson Majewski.
Thank you, Your Honor. This is Resolution 2 of 2021, standard construction details for concrete sidewalk and driveway entrances for the city of Stoughton. Public Works recommended for approval 5-0 on December 17th of 2020. And basically and I so move.
Second.
A motion and a second, Alderperson Majewski.
This is basically a construction detail to show how to build a sidewalk, or basically it gives contractors the plans that they are necessary to meet the minimum standards.
All right, are there any questions from council members on this one?
I was just curious of why it moved from 4 inches to 5 inches for the sidewalk. Were we having problems with cracking or, longevity of the sidewalk, or is it just new technology?
We have been noticing the thickness. We think the thickness is better supported with the 5 inches. We also looked at some of our peer communities in the region and utilized that as a minimum thickness for their mainline sidewalks as well. You'll note the thickness through driveway openings is a minimum of 6 inches. We've been utilizing a thicker in most of our new construction projects already. This is more geared towards those one-offs where an individual or a new contractor comes to our community and does this type of work. So we made a more professional image and graphic and specification that's more understandable for the general public.
Excellent, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions?
You don't anticipate
I have a
this
question.
this will materially change the cost of sidewalk projects, this standard?
Yeah, very minimal in cost. Generally, oftentimes it's more often the manpower to put the concrete in. We might see $0.25 per square foot, generally in some of the price costs for the additional thickness, but generally negligible on the size of the work that gets done.
All right, Alderperson Boersma?
Yeah, can a private citizen do their own sidewalk?
We do have that occurring on occasion. Oftentimes, it's more likely that they would hire somebody, but these standards would apply whether they do it or they hire a contractor.
Any other questions? All right, hearing none, all in favor of the resolution, say aye.
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 And any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. The next two are coming from CACP at my request. CACP, one of the items under ordinance for them to do is to periodically review our committee rules, and we have a couple of recommendations, and I'll turn it over to Alderperson Hiley.
Thank you, Mayor. So I've got Resolution 3 of 2020, amending the council rules to include updates to the public comment period. We basically decided to encode the ability to provide public comment in ways other than getting up and speaking. Not just because of the pandemic, but for also accessibility reasons. We say that we do prefer that citizens appear to read their own comments, whether in person or over our calls currently. We discussed the possibility that going forward, citizens might be able to use, I believe in the council chambers, use Zoom instead of but regardless, appear virtually and present their comments, but also to allow written testimony, which is currently read by the mayor. A limit on the written testimony of 400 words. That is about the average of what someone would speak in 3 minutes. So we wanted to make it a fair amount of time.
Is there a motion there?
I will move to approve this.
Thank you.
All right, so there's a motion and a second. Any questions on this one? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item, Alderperson Hiley.
Again, this was brought up by the mayor. This is Resolution 4 of 21, amending the agenda items placement of policy. This is basically encoding what we try to do anyway into policy, that agenda items should be normally passed by committee and submitted for the council agenda by the Thursday before the scheduled council meeting. But that if we do have a time sensitive agenda item, the council president and mayor can approve this to go on to an accelerated time frame. And I will move to approve this as well.
Second.
Second. Well, take your pick.
All right. There's a motion and a second. Any questions on this one? All right. Hearing
I
no
just want to
que-
say that we tried this out just, before we got passed today. As you can see on your agenda, the agenda item for TID number 4 was a time sensitive item, and it was actually so marked on the agenda. So if this is approved, this is how it would look on the agenda, was how we did it this week, just to give you an example. Or if that's okay with you guys, if you liked it that way. So you understood that it was time sensitive and it's marked that way, so.
The other thing we agreed to do is Holly and Attorney Dragney and I have a meeting usually it's on Thursday, to review the agenda. And we're gonna offer the invite to the council president as well. So if Regina in this case is available to join in the meeting, she can, to help get clarification or ask some questions ahead of time to be better prepared for the meetings. Any questions on this? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
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 And any opposed? That motion carries. Thank you. And then we have one more item on here, resolution 5. This one's coming from the Personnel Committee. Alderperson Reeves.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution R-5, 2021, authorizing and directing the proper city officials to approve the continuation of the City of Stoughton's current COVID absence policy, with the exception of excluding daycare and school closures. Personnel recommended approval 3-2 on January 4th. It was actually 2021, and I so move.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, there's a second. Alderperson Reeves.
So the committee met and chose to continue the current policy, which is that if someone meets this COVID criteria, then they do not need to tap their sick leave. If they're able to work from home, they would do so. If not, they're not required to use sick leave. And we would reevaluate, we will plan to reevaluate within 60 days to see if that's still appropriate, or if we need to, what changes we need to make, because it is expanding or changing and pretty much every week in terms of the information and exposures and that sort of thing.
Your Honor.
Oh, go ahead, Alderperson Boersma.
Yeah, and was there a second?
Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to mention something, because very often you won't see a 3-2 vote, but what happened is that AJ presented to us at Personnel 3 options, and we had to choose among 3 options. We had some, a fair amount of discussion as to which option we would go with. And it simply was a up or down, vote for the option 1. So people may wonder, I always ask the question as to who voted against it, but it was simply a matter of discussion, and we had at least 2 options that were pretty decent, and chose the first one. So just so people know.
Yeah, basically this was what we had been doing, with the exception that is included in here to cover the daycare and school closing. if somebody needs time off for that, they would be expected to, to use their own time for that. And this is, the whole discussion is kind of in response. There was an Emergency Medical Leave Act that expired at the end of the year, which was part of the first federal stimulus. There was some hope that they might extend that into the new year, but that didn't occur. And, the struggle is what's fair? What can we do to take care of our employees? But yet, what can we do to make sure that we keep our budget under control? And this is kind of the compromise that we came to.
And just one more thing, Your Honor.
Sure.
And that is, a fair amount of discussion was had about the fact that the city appears to have done it right, which was the things we put in place, and that was based on our decisions and decisions of the state or whatever, was that we did pretty well actually with protecting people, families, and actually the workforce in the city. So we chose to kind of go along with what we had been doing in the first place with some modifications. But I think it was a result of the fact that we really did see that the city did a good job in protecting its citizens.
Yeah, and I think that, countywide, Dane County is the second largest county in the state, and our COVID numbers are lower than most of the counties in the state, even being a large county. So I think that, Dane County is at least, somewhat pleased, certainly not satisfied. We don't want anyone to get sick. That's the goal here. But, overall, I think that they believe that the actions that they took by putting the orders in place and providing the public education certainly helped. And, there's a new order that I sent out yesterday that will continue through the county, and they plan on updating them orders. At this point, they said every 28 days, unless something, major occurs in between there. And in the meantime, we're all looking forward to, having the opportunity for the vaccine. I know some of the first responders, EMS in particular, some of the healthcare workers, which were in the group 1A, started getting shots last week. I know there's some areas in the state where they've received their second shots, and they're transitioning to 1B, which include police and fire personnel. I'm not sure if they received any shots yet this week or not. I didn't get an update today, but certainly things are moving along. And at the federal level, they're trying to work with the state and the county to make more vaccine available and then get it distributed more efficiently, which is the goal right now, is to at least try to get, a shot in everybody's arm that's willing and able to take it. And certainly, the healthcare providers, I think, will try to communicate things to each one of us in order to get us in there. I know they don't necessarily want us all calling them every day, but they certainly will let us know when it's our turn to get in line here. So this is what we're trying to do to protect our employees so we can continue to provide services. We're certainly concerned, about first responders that are really, in direct contact with patients, as well as employees that have to make sure that, we're keeping the lights on and we're keeping the roads plowed as well. So we're advocating for those groups.
And if I could add one more thing, and that is that for the edification and the good of the council, there was just put forth a bit of a relaxation in terms of number of people for group gatherings, especially outside. So just so you know that you'll hear it on the news, I think, tonight.
All right, are there any questions on the resolution? All right, hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 And any opposed? That motion does carry. All right, I think that's all we had for this evening, unless you want more.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, more, please.
Second.
There's a second. There's a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. Thank you. Have a good night.
Good night.
all.
Thanks, everybody.
Stay well, everyone.
All right.
Stay well.